Hello and welcome to Big Scott 35. Let's talk. So I've been saying I want to do these on Sunday. I want to touch on some things that I've seen around the hobby for the last week. Uh, Again, I like to watch a lot of the podcasts and group talk, and kind of want to start off on the trends that I'm seeing in, like, I guess now that card shows are starting back up in some states, like I guess Texas. Watching how much things are. It seems like most of the videos, I went down a bad rabbit hole, or I can't say bad, a different one. Watches some people. Started with somebody I usually watch, Ryan Card Collector 2. He has a podcast with two of his friends that he's made through the hobby, I believe, from what I gather. It's like called 137 or whatever. Um, uh, they they were at the Dallas Card Show. Now they play in a different level than I do already. So, but I watch it just cause to see stuff that I don't normally get. Now Ryan will collect, or he owns his own shop. He does a lot of online presence. He's built himself up from ground zero on this hobby. I have a lot of respect for this young man. So that's why I watch him. He has gained a lot of knowledge doing this. And like I said, I collect, but it's good to watch people that does the selling, just so when I go to sell, I have some sense of what I'm doing. And also, it's not bad to see what's going on in the world of high end, or even gives you a little bit of where the hobby is going. And the other two guys seem like they're just in it for profits, all about profits, profit, how much they can turn and burn, which is fine too. That it's a space big enough for everyone. But the trend I saw this past weekend, and I've heard it before, and I've also heard from other people that went to these last couple of Dallas shows. That show is all about how much money is being stacked up and who's spending it. Comma cards, and not too many dollar boxes, not too much old school show. It is high end. Sell a few cards, make some trades. There was a guy on the end of the show that I watched. They did a live show from Dallas. And if you got a chance to go see that, at the end, the last 10 minutes about is a guy that picked up a Pokemon. I want to say it's a first edition. They never really said what it was, but it's a $500,000 Charizard, is what it was priced at. He traded like two cards, which you didn't see. They were just talking about the trade with the guy, and he wired him $100,000. And they were just talking about it like I would, like a $10. Like, oh, here's two cards and $20. Um, and he was talking about how at first it was a $75 deal that turned, or 75,000 cash with the cards, and turned into 100, because what he had to talk to his buddy that was in on the card with him, and he couldn't miss out on a potential $1 million card with $20,000 or 25,000. And I was like, yeah, that's a potential, but I'm thinking to myself, man, it could go the other way too. Like, I just feel like if something does happen in this hobby, because I have a feeling once the world gets back to traveling, going to where you can go spend your money on other things, I don't know if this is going to sustain at the level it's at. Now, is it going to drop all the way back? I don't think so. But I think some of the high end stuff or the middle stuff will kind of start to dissipate. I think the high end stuff is going to stay there, because those people traveling doesn't mean anything. They're probably traveling now, spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on a card really doesn't mean much. But uh, I think that middle level is going to chill out. I think ultra modern will kind of relax a little bit. That's just my take on it. But getting back to what I want to talk about is the card shows. Is the we still need just the everyday old school box of cards, not just as an afterthought, but taken care of. I went to a show just Saturday, um, and I was happy. Last time I went, it wasn't too much boxes. It was a lot of people trying to make as much money as they can off of fewest cards they got, and I don't have a problem with that. I just don't think that's where we need everybody to be. This time was a little different. Some of the guys that I've known at the card show and some new ones I haven't seen. This was a pretty big show. It was a lot of people, and he had people that backed out, and I'll get to that in a minute for a reason. And normal people, I asked him where they were at, and he told me why. But I ended up finding boxes of cards. The only problem is the box won't be labeled, and they'll be in all top loaders. And what's the prices on them? Now these I just showed you, that guy had it labeled, but oh, the prices are on the back. No, they won't. And I was like, geez, so I had a stack of cards. This stack actually right here. And I'm like, so what's the price on these? I already had a number in my head. He came under it. I don't like. I hate bargaining, and that's what this dealers throw out a high number, so you come in under it, or you're the sucker to pay it. So you always got to throw out a lower number. You have to. It's the way they do it, and it's just the way it's done. So unless it's a number, I go wow, because I'll get to that in a minute. So the guy throws out a number, I throw out a lower one. But nothing. 3 of the cards had prices on the back, and the rest didn't. So he just made up a number, something that he was comfortable with, and they were all numbered and shiny cards. So it was a value there. So I paid and got it. And then the other guy, they're all labeled. He has a price on them. Then it was half off that price, and then I buy from him every time he's at a show. He's in most of the Iowa shows, and he takes off even more. He just you can see it's just, this is stuff that's in my collection. They're in a box. I just want to get rid of them, and you find good deals in them. I found some very good deals. Cards I can't pass up at 50 cents or less. Like they ended up being less than 50 cents. So, it tends for me to pick up more when it's like that. And that was my one gripe with that show. But the show was still geared to the everyday collector. Now, there was one guy there that thought he was this new school guy. And as I was looking through this box, I was there for a while. I was next to this guy talking about his past and everything. And he had some nice stuff. It was all basketball and football, so it wasn't my cup of tea. But he was one of the guys that had very few cards, but they were all high-end stuff. If he sells one card, he probably made his week, well, probably made his probably month or a couple of months. It depends on how he reinvests it. But, it was one guy there, and I didn't like how some of the collectors, they were calling him like he thinks he's Gary V or something. It's just different, and as a collector, and this was a show with a lot of collectors at it, to sit there to talk about a guy that looks at the money side of it, and kind of poo-poo on him. That's not the way to go. And there were some guys that were trying to say, oh, that's a 10. Look at the corner. That's no way that's a 10. And it was in a PSA graded thing. I was like, PSA said it was a 10. You're just trying to get it cheaper. So, sorry, I had to get a little sip of water. But, these smaller shows in my area, I've said in past videos, I live in northern Iowa. most of the shows around here are still very old school. They still talk about, that book said a certain thing. A lot of raw cards. There is some graded, but there's a lot more raw. I have started to see a slowdown in vintage. It used to be a lot of vintage. Still a lot of football, still a lot of basketball, but there's quite a few. It was a lot of baseball there, Jay. So it made me happy. And it was a guy there with Pokemon and just some non-sports stuff, and I appreciate that too. Because I think there's a place for everybody in this. So I'm here to tell you, not every show is like the Dallas one, but it's making me nervous for the national. And I just want to touch back on another thing with the Dallas show. I'm babbling. Is the guy's doing it every other month, and it's becoming a destination show, I guess, because there's not shows across the country. So it's like a national every other month. So is this downplaying? You got the CS and CSA and Chantilly, which will be they moved theirs back from the beginning of April to the late April because of COVID, and they're hoping by that weekend, April May, that more people will be uh, have the shot, and then because Virginia's slowly ramping up, and that's a Northern Virginia. There is a lot of people there. I don't think people understand that that's one of the most populated areas in the country. I think it's behind like New York and LA. It's very condensed population there and in Virginia Beach in those two areas, I and I think they're gonna, which is weird to me because they did the show in the fall with you bought a ticket. They had two different times where you can buy a ticket. They cleared everybody out. People had to wear a mask, and they could only sell so many tickets and have so many people in the venue. I think they really want to open it up, and then you got the show. It's like I don't know if it's called Fanatics anymore, but in June there's a show in Chicago, the same convention center, the Stephen whatever place, uh, and it's a big show. It's as many tables as the national. I don't know if they got all the signers and all the people like Tops and Upper Deck and PSA. I don't think it's that big. I think PSA does go to this one. But I have a couple of buddies that sell in this area that I've made friends with that they're going to that, and it's still happening in June. So I think that's going to be a good barometer of what happens for later at the national. But my thought is like, people are like, should there be a second national? There's shows all over the place. I got the Philly show that happens what six times a year. Uh, there is, I think they got a bigger one in the New England area once a year, if not twice. You got the CSA, which is three times a year. I'm going to go to one in the fall in October. Uh, Everything should be good by then. Uh, I think they had one at Long Beach at the Long Beach Expo. Then you got Dallas that has them now every other month, it seems like. So, I don't know. Yes, it's booming, but man, is this all taken away from the other shows? Like the National's supposed to be the show. I think people are still the biggest show because it's just where everybody goes to reunite every year. Uh, it's just a destination for more than just cards. It's what it's turned out to be. Uh, but now, still talking on going from the Dallas to national with that's going to be a longer video, I guess. So, uh, with Mike's interview with the whoever the guy was from Nashville. I should know his name. It's not a whoever. I should have enough respect to remember his name, but I don't. I don't remember it, and that's my fault. I apologize. But uh, some of the questions, he was very dodgy. It seems like they're going to have some sort of whatever Chicago allows, and they're not going to move it, which I can understand. The logistics for that would be impossible to do in a year because they sign contracts for 4, 5, 6 years in a row at places. But it was interesting what Mike brought up Atlantic City and told him it's hard to get Atlantic City. And the guy just kind of didn't even acknowledge it. And was Mike asking, why don't you have it in other places? And he just said it was too hard to do, which I don't understand because really, the Super Bowl's in different places. The NCAA tournament is in different places. You can't tell me there's more people that go to that one event that goes to the national. And he said he couldn't do it on two different floors. That blew my mind. I was like, the national's set up already in three different venues. It's the signers, the breakers, and then the floor. Why couldn't you do it in two different floors? As long you could do the breakers and the signing upstairs and the main floor on the bottom. I was kind of the. It just sounded like a lot of excuses for saying Chicago gives us a good deal and Atlantic City, and I've gotten that kind of secondhand from somebody that's talked to them and got, hey, I think Atlantic City almost lets them do it for free as long as they can guarantee X amount of people just to come to their city. And I think because I think all both of these places, like Cleveland, the town is tied up with the convention center, that area, because the one in Chicago is not literally in Chicago. It's in a little suburb of Chicago, right on the edge of the town. Uh, and that area is built for the convention center. So I'm sure they get very good deals for the space they have because they're bringing X amount of people in. I mean, that convention center has all kinds of conventions. When we were there last time, was a Halo one upstairs at the same time that they're downstairs, and there's a whole other wing that's not even being used by them. It's a very big convention center, and I understand why they do it. But to say that you can't change venues because it's too hard, and like Baltimore wanted them to guarantee a certain, and it didn't make much sense. And of course, Mike didn't push it, and I understand why. You want to keep those communications open with these people. You don't want to be too tough on them. Then they're not going to want to communicate anything. They'll just not want to talk to you. And I think Bench Clear wants to do something at the National, and so you don't want to get on their bad side, understandably so. But I just think the National could be better. And in this time, I understand right now you can't go, oh, well, definitely going to have something, but it sounds like they are. If it's mask, if it's a certain amount of people that could be in there, how they're going to do the signings. They want to make it safe for everybody, and understandably so. And I know Chicago area is very slow in opening, but I think by then, with Texas, now I'm going to touch back on the Texas one, and kind of something I forgot to talk about at the card show today. Why some of the guys that went to the Dallas show didn't make it to this show was because they got COVID. There was 6 people that went that he knows of, and all 6 of them have COVID. All 6 didn't go together. They were in 2 or 3 different groups, but they all have COVID. So I haven't heard that was a super spreader event, and I haven't heard anything else from other people. But if it is, and it turns out to that's not going to be good for the future of card shows in states that are holding back. Now, where I was at today, everybody was wearing masks, except for a couple of dealers. But almost everybody at the show was wearing masks. The mall requests that you wear a mask. Our state lifted the mandate where you had to wear a mask, but most retail outlets still require you to have one when you go in, and restaurants. So that's a concern. So I'm just here today saying I went to a car show. Not everything was $1,000, so I'm hoping at these big shows when you see all the $1,000 cards and the stacks of money, because there's an Instagram page. I think if you hashtag Dallas Card Show, you're going to see a bunch of stacks of money. I think Beans Card Collecting had a thing on Twitter about it, and it's kind of I don't know. I want to use the word sickening, but it opened my eyes to what's going on. And a couple of videos that I went to were 100% card, or not card flip. They were flippers, but they were 100% shoe guys, tennis shoes. And so is that market dead? I don't understand what's going on. So is that a dead market now? Is the shoe hustle a dead market, or is the card hustle that easy? I don't know which, but they were flipping money out there and buying stuff. And I watched another video that the guys was doing. The reason why he's on my YouTube page is he goes to yard sales to something for the buying for the right price or something, and looks for video game stuff. And then all of a sudden he went to a card show, and I was like, what is this guy doing? Of course, it was backed by Jeff Wilson, so no telling. And at the end was a commercial for it, whatever card thing he does, the website. But he literally bought 2 whole collections at the show. He went up and bought 2 whole tables of collections. Wasn't a lot of money. I mean, it was $1,700. I mean, you can get, that's not even one card at a lot of places. So, but I mean, he just went up and bought 2 collections to get the certain stuff out that he wanted. So, you know, that's the world we're living in now in this hobby. And it just, all of this just opened up my eyes to what is really going on outside of the people in my community, the people in the part of YouTube that I'm living in, right? The collector, even the investing. I don't think the guys that do the selling, Filmington might sell at that level, but he doesn't really, if he does, he doesn't promote that level of selling. And neither does Triple Crown, JT. I just, when I saw that, I was just shocked at just how casual thousands of dollars in these cards are just getting flung around, and how they were ultra modern cards, or modern, whatever, however you define them now. I know we're in a different definition because of PSA. I'm sorry, I keep looking at the clock because I feel like I'm rambling. And I'm hoping I'm making a cohesive statement. And I think there's room for everybody, but because of those $1,000 cards at these card shows, not everything has to be at that level, right? We don't all have to be at the level that you're happy with, collect what you're happy with, because at the end of the day, if you don't get that money back, you got to keep it, or at least you don't have to keep it, but you probably will, and you want to be happy with what you keep. And the other thing is these guys lack some knowledge. They only, I mean, the guy totally said, I look at the card ladder, not the card ladder, that's the other guys. Whatever the trends are, and that's the cards he looks for. He has no idea what he's buying. He just knows, oh, this card is projecting. It's on an upward. I'm going to buy those cards, or that person. Yeah. So I don't really know what to make of that, but, you know, maybe that's not the best places to get your investment advice, is just to kind of throw that out there. But with that being said, please leave a like, share, get a trickle in a few subscribers. Really appreciate all new subscribers. I'm sorry that I've been delayed to get back with y'all. Work has been kind of crazy. A lot of times I have downtime, and that's when I kind of catch up on some that type of thing on YouTube. So I usually release on the days that I'm off, and so while I have downtime while I'm at work, I'll catch up on some of that. and I haven't had any. So I work 12-hour shifts and we've been busy, which is a good thing. I'm not upset at all. So until next time, see ya.